Hey everyone, Jessica here, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to create these little floral motif illustrations using some of my Impressionist Photoshop brushes and one of the styles from my Creative Couture collection. And actually, I'm going to be using a new color palette collection that's inspired by this Marchesa ready-to-wear dress. And I actually kind of took some of the purples. It looks a bit desaturated here, but I took some of the purples and plums and soft lavenders that are in this dress and created a color palette collection, but you can use any color palettes you want. And so to start off with, I'm going to go to my brushes, and I'm going to go to my Palm Beach Garden Party brushes, and I'm going to start with brush number 11. And don't forget, if you're an All Access member, you can download my current brush collection at any time, so you can have this exact same brush setup as me instead of having to download everything separately. So I'm using Palm Beach Garden Party brush 11, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. I have the other ones that I've already made here. And what I like with this is you can make them in the different colors of the palettes, but it's really the same little motif, but you can have a whole collection rather than just one. And so once you create these, it's really fun. You could like drag and drop them, use them to create invitations, any kind of really any design you're working on, things for sale, etc., etc. So okay, first of all, got to make sure that we have the Impressionist pattern brush checked. Let's go over here to the brushes, and now actually I still have to scroll up here. Palm Beach Garden Party brush number 11. Nope, that's English Garden. Palm Beach Garden Party brush 11 here, which is a nice kind of soft watercolor sort of brush where you can really see kind of the texture of the paper. And so I'm just going to start with this palette here, but again, this you can use, I have so many palettes available for download. You can use any palette you want. And I'm just going to make 4 little leaves here, just like you see on the left. Nothing to it at all. All right, so I've got that. I'm going to make 2 at the same time. So I picked out palette number 1, which is like a soft lavender. And then I'm going to go for this kind of a beige one here. So I'm just going to do the same thing here, 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 and here. I'm going to make 4 little petals, and I'm leaving it kind of blank in the middle because I just wanted a different kind of look. And I'll go ahead and make one more with more of this darker purple, and I'll go like this and do the same thing. And so now I've got 3 little motifs, and I have them actually all on the same layer. It's going to save time. I'll show you why later. So I've got 3 little of the petal motifs, and now I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to create a clipping mask. So I'm going to hold down my option and click like this. So this next layer creates a clipping mask. And now I'm going to do these center parts. And so I'm going to still have my Impressionist brush selected. I'm going to go into brush number 14. And now I'll just do a contrasting color. So on this lavender one, I'll grab one of my palettes, and it automatically, if you're familiar with these brushes, you know it automatically sprays out a blend of colors. So that looks cool. And then I'm going to take another one, another color palette, and do it right here on this. I don't like how that turned out too much. I'm going to put that over here. There we go. So put it in the middle of this one. And then I will take, maybe the light number 5 and do it in the center here. So we've got that, but it looks a little bit different than the ones on the left. For these ones, I actually added a little bit of a drop shadow to add a little bit of a contrast. So I'm going to use one of my drop shadow styles from my styles collection, but you can always just select this layer and go here, drop shadow. But if you're familiar with, in a previous video, I've done my setup, and you can download all my default styles. So If you remember, you can follow along with me. I'm going to click drop shadow 14 here. That adds a little bit of a drop shadow, but if you look, it's got that black of the drop shadow that doesn't look so good. So one of the tips that I'm going to give you on drop shadows is I'm going to double click on this drop shadow and change the blend mode from multiply to overlay. And that way it's darker, but it takes, rather than having just a dark black, it intensifies the color behind it and it looks better. So I went ahead and did that, and then you could play with, the drop shadow a little bit. But I like to use my drop shadows that I have saved as a starting point, which really helps me. So I'm going to put the overlay to about 50. And now it's got a little bit of a separation and a cool kind of distinction. And that drop shadow clips to the petals behind it, which is good because we don't want any drop shadow off the side when we merge them. I want to have these without a drop shadow. So if in case I want to add them later in my design, I can, but that it's not, that you don't have to have it. So anyway, I just put that on there, the center part, and now I'm going to do this accent around the edges. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'll go ahead and apply the Creative Couture Styles Lightly Encrusted number 7 is the one I choose for this. So I'll click on Lightly Encrusted number 7, and then in my new Style Start collection, I have a brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and get over to my regular brush, and I use a new brush from my, well, I forget what I'm calling it, but it's a romantic fern collection that's inspired by Marchesa. So I'm going to grab the rough jewel border number 2 that's in this collection, and I am going to maybe make it a little bit smaller. And let's pick my color that I'm going to do it in. So I want to do it in this mauve, kind of a plummy mauve color. So I'll click that. And so now I'm just going to go around the corner of this one, like so, or around the edges. There we go. And add these little crusty kind of encrusted accents. So I'll do the same with this one, and you can change the size or whatnot. And then I think I'll change my color and make like a tan to go on this one to just match the flower a little bit better. And there we go. So I can show you, I just used 3 brushes and one of my color palette collections. You can use any color palette collection to create this really cute little floral motif. And one thing that I do when I'm creating like something like this is, rather than create 3 layers for each one, I created all the backs on one layer, all the centers on the next layer, all of the encrusted on one layer. I can group these, and I've save in my file an original copy, duplicate the group, right click and merge it, and then then I can just separate these to separate layers and export them, and then I've got all these different graphics. And also I'm going to unclick, show you one little tip here. Take any of your selection tools. Usually I use the box, but I made these a little bit too close together, so I'm going to use the lasso. I am going to select this one and use the keyboard shortcut Command Option Shift and E. Oh no, that's not the right command. Keyboard shortcut, hold on. Excuse me, I've been fighting a cold here. Command Shift J. Okay, yeah. Command Shift J on the Mac, and that takes that piece to its own layer. And so I'm just going to take the lasso again and select this one here and the original group, the original merge thing, and click Command Shift J. And now I have all 3 of these graphics on their own layer, and now I can design with them. I can drag and drop them, make a really pretty, I could totally see this on a wedding invitation or something, and then maybe use some brushes, put some background behind these. But that's how, excuse me, that's how easy it is to use a few brushes and create those. So just write down below if you have any questions for me, and hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial.